Hey everybody, welcome to another DMV Comic Book Club. I'm your host Freddie, coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Today is Saturday, July 20th, 2024, and thanks to all returning viewers and subscribers. And if you're new, welcome. This channel is small but growing, and if you'd like to help me get to 50 subscribers, that would be great, because that way we can skip the Zoom and go straight to YouTube Live. But for now, here we are. Um, it's a new day, and I've got some new stuff to discuss with you guys. So last week I put up a poll on Threads asking you guys which title should we discuss today. And Batman, Captain America tied at 24%, but Nightwing was way in the lead with 52%. So that's going to be our spotlight book today. We're going to discuss that towards the end of the podcast. But I gotta say, I shouldn't have been surprised because when I looked at this comics that came out this week, look at this. We have a new issue of Nightwing, and it got 11,236 pulls on League of Comic Geeks. It was the most pulled book of this week, according to that website. So, I mean, Nightwing has always been a very popular book. It's usually at the top of the list, and it's my bad for being behind on it. Like, I'm currently up to issue 90, and I can't wait to discuss those earlier issues with you guys today. But give me some time. Hopefully, I can catch up to um, the current issues. Like, Nightwing is super, super popular. Look at this. Screen Rant said that Nightwing is quickly becoming DC's most influential hero. He's a natural leader in the DC universe. I've even seen some debate online asking who's more popular, the Justice League or the Teen Titans? Um, what do you guys think? I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. Let me know. I hate to say it, but I think the Titans might be winning this one. They might not always be teens anymore, but they have enough properties to say that, they might be beating out the Justice League. Like we've had ever since 2003, we had the cartoon series, we had the reboot of Teen Titans Go, and then well, I guess Young Justice kind of fits in there too. But beyond that, we've got the Titans live action TV show, and then you've got the Titans comic books, and so all this stuff has been on the air and recently, and it seems to be more popular than some of the Justice League stuff we've gotten as of late. Like the entire generation of kids growing up with Teen Titans Go always on TV. Whereas I don't know if the kids are watching Justice League as much these days. They should, but it is what it is. So, my money's on Titans being more popular at the moment. Uh, but we'll see if DC does anything to change that. So, speaking of that, DC is making some big moves. Let's talk about the news that came out this week. I've got one big bit of news to share with you guys. DC Comics announced their all-in initiative. It's going to start with a single issue mega event on the scale of the classic DC Universe Rebirth. It's presented as a startling, symmetrical flip book. So that's interesting. We got this cover by Daniel Sampier, Wes Craig. We've got variant covers. Rafa Sandoval and Wes Craig. Yeah, this is the big news. It's kind of like got these absolute titles over here, which might be like their version of an ultimate book, and just kind of reinterpretations of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. Um, but then you've also got what looks like some reboots or fresh starts for, classic characters. Scott Snyder, Joshua Williamson seem to be at the lead of this initiative. But to get back to Tom Taylor, he had a big announcement. Tom Taylor and Michael Janin are starting a new era of Detective Comics. Detective Comics 1090, I believe, will be their first issue. And yeah, that's going to come on sale in October, late October. Um, yeah, I don't know what to say. It's kind of interesting because Tom Taylor is partially the reason why Nightwing is arguably surpassing Batman in popularity currently. But that's still debatable. Batman's still extremely popular. But if you got Tom Taylor on Batman, will that make him even more popular somehow? We shall see. All right. Another thing that happened this week is we got the third and final part of Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths, the animated movie trilogy. This released on digital this week, and you can find, I believe, the first two installments on Max. Might be another 3 months before the final one gets released to Max, but it will be for rent in 3 days on July 23rd. I watched all three, and it took me quite a while to warm up to them, but by the end of it, I don't regret watching. This is my favorite DC thing, but it was not bad in the sense that it made me think if you're most DC fans are familiar with Crisis story. There have been many DC crises over the years, but the very first one, Crisis on Infinite Earths, by Marv Wolfman and George Perez, is one of the biggest stories they've ever told, and it's been adapted and many times. So, what makes this one special? Well, I think this one was able to interpret the comic, modernize it, and add to it in a way that, something like the CW wasn't able to do, because, they had their own continuity that was, specific. So this is more in line with comics, but it borrows bits from other comics that are interesting. And it kind of streamlines the story. Part one focuses on Barry Allen's Flash. Part two, I would say, kind of focuses on Supergirl and Psycho Pirate. And part three, to me, part three has like a Wonder Woman focus, which was interesting, because we're dealing with Earth 2 Wonder Woman, and she is an immortal. And honestly, I just feel like it gave her a compelling storyline that we don't always get to see. Like, Wonder Woman often gets sidelined, I feel, in these events. A lot of writers don't know how to write Wonder Woman. Now, I will also say that because this is an apocalyptic type of story where the the multiverse is falling apart, worlds are colliding. There's a lot of death, and it's a little grim, a little dour. Like there's the whole. It's not very joyful. There's not a lot of humor, and it makes sense because it's end of the world situation. But um, but then there is still like some attempts at humor, and yeah, I think with Wonder Woman at the end, I don't want to spoil anything, but um, there are some things that happen in the final part that uh, I want to get your guys' opinion. I want to know what you guys thought of the final part, the finale, because like, was it good? Was it bad? Um, yeah, let me know your thoughts. Oh, one more bit of news. We got a new poster for Batman Cape Crusader coming out August 1st. That's right around the corner. I can't believe it, on Amazon Prime. So, uh, guys, if you're watching that, definitely come talk to me. Tell me your thoughts, because like once this show starts, I'm sure I'm going to talk about it. All right. Like I'm literally wearing my Batman Kevin Conroy shirt right now. Oh, that's the thing I forgot to mention. I think most of us know, it's been going around social media, that Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earths was Kevin Conroy's final performance. So, that's why I'm wearing this shirt in honor of him. This might be the last chance I really get to wear it and talk about something new that he did. Um, I mean, that's what they told us. It's his last performance, and it feels like his last performance. Like I'm not gonna spoil it, but like people have already shown the clip all over social media. But it was kind of perfect. Like it was done in the style of BTAS, and um, you got Mark Hamill joining him as the Joker one last time, and even the lines he said, he's like, if this is the end, then at least I'm going out as Batman. He says something along those lines. It's just very powerful, very sad, but very beautiful, poetic. And, I think just a great tribute to him, like, especially compared to some of the other last things that he was doing. Like, I was not at all interested in that Kill the Justice League Suicide Squad game that came out. From what I heard about what they did to Batman, I was not a big fan of that. But uh but yeah, if this is his last role, this was really, really fantastic. All right, so looking forward to giving the Cape Crusader a try, but will it recapture the magic? Who knows? Will it be greater than one could expect? Hopefully. Uh, it might be amazing. Might, but will it live up to our expectation? Will it live up to our expectations? It might. It might not. We'll just have to wait and see. All right. Next, it's time to talk about the new comic releases that came out this week. All right. So first, I'll start. Yeah, we were talking a little bit about Nightwing and how I'm not caught up yet, but uh, it's a very popular book and everybody's been reading it. I do want to share a few spoilers that I found online because they're kind of funny. So spoilers ahead, but yeah, you've probably seen this image going around the internet of Bruce Wayne wearing Nightwing's costume, saying Bloodhaven needs Nightwing. What's the context of this? I don't really know, but it's been going around social media and people have been kind of memeing it or like editing it. Um, Tough Art decided to draw what this costume might actually look like on Bruce. Like maybe, maybe it doesn't fit him super well. So I thought that was kind of funny. And then uh and then CB movie fan decides to do an edit. Like, what would it look like if he was wearing Robin's original costume? Like Dick Grayson's original Robin costume. Uh yeah, you guys let me know what you think of all that. But let's move on to some comics that I actually did read this week. So here's some brief thoughts on the new releases that came out this week. And I'm also going to share what I think is the best page from each book. Because I don't want to spoil the whole book, but I do want to kind of like just show you something I really enjoyed about each book that I read. So, that said, first, let's talk about Daredevil, Woman Without Fear. All right, so this book is written by Erica Schultz and drawn by Dowling, Kinney, and yeah, this was a pretty great start to, I don't know if it's a mini or ongoing, probably a mini, but I'm always excited to see more of Elektra as Daredevil. I think that was a pretty inspired part of Chip Zdarsky's run on Daredevil. Glad to see it continuing. Um, yeah, as you can see, she's fighting Crossbones on the cover here. This cover is by Mahmoud Azrar. And yeah, lots of action. I'll say my favorite page of this book is actually the recap page. Because look at this. It's Marvel does this every so often. They'll do a recap page as if it were a page in the Daily Bugle newspaper. And I love this stuff. It makes you kind of feel like you're like living in the world of Marvel Comics. You've got your headlines about Elektra Daredevil, about the new Punisher. And then there's a missing persons ad for Jane Doe, who answers to Alice, who we kind of know as Elektra's kind of sidekick for this era. So this wasn't the only great page. Like Michael Dowling does a pretty good job with the art. There are lots of great pages actually, but I'm not going to spoil them for you guys. Um, yeah, if you like Daredevil, if you like Elektra, check out this run. All right, next, let's talk about Dracula Blood Hunt, the final part, part 3 of 3. Um, this issue did a good job of focusing on both Brielle Brooks and Dracula. And the art was great. All right, so this was by Danny Lore, the creator of Brielle. And also the artist was Vincenzo Caratu. Um, he did a great job on the art, honestly. Like it was hard to pick the best page because every page was really cool. Like the premise of this book is that, um, Varney, in the body of her father, Blade, has kind of what has he done? He's kind of made Brielle see visions of a nightmare. Um, so we're in her mind, and everything is kind of surreal, and the art is just kind of nightmarish and interesting. And plus, in the real world, Dracula is fighting a lot of vampire monsters um, to protect her body as she's like knocked out. So I'm just going to pick one page from the book to show you that was my favorite. This one here. Um, so this in this page we see Brielle running, through like a dream or nightmare setting. She's in like a scary version of her school, and she's escaping vampires. Like her friends have turned into vampires in this scenario. But then her mom calls her on the phone, and this is real. Like she hears the bell ringing, um, but it turns out to be like her phone ringing in the real world. And she's finally getting a message back from her mom. She's been trying to call her mom and having to leave messages all along up to now. So her mom calls her, and she basically encourages her to do what she has to do. She says, "I trust whatever decision you make. I love you and I'm proud of you." And, I just think those are important things for especially young readers to hear, but everybody really, like everyone needs to hear words like this, words of encouragement from time to time. And it's just like not only is the art cool, but the words on the page are cool. So that's why I picked that. All right. So everybody read Blood Hunt. It's pretty good. Next, Invincible Iron Man 20. This is the last book of this volume of Iron Man. It's been very, very much tied into the Fall of X storyline. One of the biggest ongoing plot lines of this book has been his relationship with Emma Frost. And so we can see on this cover, we've got, them holding hands. And it's kind of a beautiful cover. Like, I can't say that I'm the biggest fan of Kale New, but, this is a pretty great cover because, it's just beautiful. Like, Emma and Tony both have these hard, protective outer shells. And so a lot of fans have kind of been won over by them getting married and coming together and showing a little bit of vulnerability towards each other and maybe even love. And so this is the issue where we find out, are they going to stay together? Or are they going to break up? So this is written by Jerry Dugan, drawn by Andrea DeVito, colored by Brian Valenza, and lettered by Joe Caramagna. So, I want to share this variant cover. This is by Juan Frigeri. And this is also pretty cool. It does a pretty good job of just kind of summing up who the main players of this arc were. You've got Tony, you've got his Mysterium armor, you've got him and Emma, you've got Rhodey, you've got Ironheart, you've got the villain, what was his name? Bylong, and then you've got just a bunch of his armors. And yeah, it's a pretty cool variant cover. I'll say my favorite page or panel of this book, it actually was over 2 pages. So here we have a scene where Tony is meeting Emma at the Hellfire Club. And he's trying to figure out, are they getting an annulment or are they going to stay together? He's making one last pitch for why they should stay together. And she says, "I didn't expect to be here today, Anthony." He says, "You didn't expect to fall for me?" She says, I didn't expect to still be alive." But she has to go be alone for a while. She says that he was the lone bright spot in what was unquestionably the most difficult time of her life. He says, "You need time, take it." And so it looks like they're having a very intimate moment. But in the next panel, she's gone. An instant. And and kind of realized that it was just a mental projection of her. She wasn't even really there. It's like she was already gone. That's kind of heartbreaking in that sense. Um, so the waiter tells Tony that uh, yeah, she wasn't able to make it, but she passed along her regrets before he arrived. She asked him to personally deliver an envelope to him. So as she apologizes mentally, he also apologizes, and he opens the envelope to find a check with a ridiculous amount of money, billions of dollars. So that's quite a divorce agreement. Like someone should have signed a prenup, right? No, I'm just saying. It was interesting how this wrapped up. Yeah, Tony has been notably poor this entire run, and there's another interesting page where we see how Emma was able to gift him this much money and what they do with it. But I'll let you guys read that and see all the details of that. Yeah, this was a pretty touching issue, a bittersweet wrap up to the storyline. I wasn't particularly excited for them to get married, only because I knew from the start it wasn't really going to be uh, as straightforward as the covers made it seem. Like we had that, it was a beautiful cover of them, having a big wedding, but it was a misdirect. It was not really what happened in the book. So what happened in the book was definitely more of a slow burn where it was a marriage of I don't want to say convenience, but like a purpose, because it kind of like allowed them to kind of do what they need to do to survive. And over time they grew close. And there were some other moments in this issue that just showed how close they were, and it was very sweet. But we'll see if this ever gets returned to, or if this is it for now. Like Emma is moving on to Extraordinary X-Men, and Iron Man is getting a new volume. So anything can happen. All right. Next, Phoenix #1, From the Ashes, A New Beginning. This was written by Stephanie Phillips, writer. The artist was Alessandro Mirapolo, lettered by Cora Petit, and colorist David Curiel. There are lots of great variant covers, but I don't really have any to show you guys. But I will just say briefly that this book, right away, it starts with an interesting story. Like we get some narration that you might think would be from Jean's perspective, but we quickly find out that it's not Jean narrating the book. Also, you can tell by the color of the narration boxes. It's very blue, and that's not really Jean's color. But we come to find out that it's an alien girl named Adani, and she's the daughter of a priest who I think was formerly aligned with the Universal Church of Truth, which I'm told is like a Adam Warlock mages type of thing. Like this book is definitely getting deep into cosmic Marvel. We even get a cameo at the end. I'm not going to spoil it for you. But what to say about this book? Well, so basically, this book says some interesting things about faith, and it even contextualizes the Phoenix as a divine creature. In fact, one that aliens are by and large afraid of. Um, like the narration starts out making you think that they're talking about the one true God of Christianity, but no, it's just kind of like a metaphor because it's they're talking about the one true their God is, I guess, mages or whoever. I don't even know. Like the point is, like, it doesn't really matter the details. It's just a very philosophical book, and it also tries to examine both the divinity and the humanity of Jean Grey Phoenix. Like, and that's what it's supposed to do, right? Like, the Phoenix has been, you know, such a back and forth thing with Jean. Like, for fans who don't really know, like, when Jean first became the Phoenix, then Dark Phoenix, and then was killed, um, it was some years before she was brought back. And when she was brought back, it took years before the Phoenix powers came back, and then she was killed again as soon as she got the Phoenix powers back in Grant Morrison's run. And then after that, she died for years. And then when she came back, the Phoenix resurrected her, but it was like that she kind of like rejected the Phoenix. And so for most of the Krakoa era, she was Jean apart from the Phoenix. And that was kind of like a big deal at the end of the Krakoan era where she got the Phoenix powers back. So here we are. Once again, Jean is the Phoenix because, like a Phoenix, she rises from the ashes every time, reborn, renewed. And yeah, it gets a little old, but at the same time, I think X fans, we love it. Like we have, like it's hard to remove the Phoenix from Jean because it's such important part to her life, to her character. So why not have her embrace it at least for now? See where it goes. It's taking her to space, and yeah, I think the writing was pretty good. The art, I have mixed feelings about. Like it wasn't like my favorite, but it wasn't terrible. Like I'll show you my favorite page. This is my favorite page. It's a double page spread. Jean is basically deciding to shrink a black hole or to stop it or prevent it from like sucking an entire planet to its destruction. And she's basically dancing in space. She's doing a cosmic ballet. She's on fire. Looks pretty cool. And also the narration is pretty cool because it's describing what's happening, but also it says some things that will help us understand what's going on. Like it says, the Phoenix had always been a part of her. From the first moment that Jean retreated from reality, holding her own soul at the edge of death, the Phoenix knew Jean was the one who could make the planet stop spinning. Jean is, always has been the Phoenix. So, like, that's a pretty decisive statement to make. Granted, the narrator is Adani, so, like, could be an unreliable narrator. But I think for most of us readers, we're just going to, like, we're happy to just go with it because there's always just this debate, Is Jean the Phoenix? Is the Phoenix Jean? Can other people be the Phoenix? Or is it only Jean's thing? I don't want to get into all that. I mean, it's basically Jean's thing. So here we're told she is and always has been Phoenix. Now, here's the problem with this issue. It's not even a week past the release date, and people have been discovering that there's been a lot of tracing going on, or at the very least, a lot of referencing going on by this artist. Yeah, Alessandro Miracolo. Here's some examples of him basically just copying other Marvel artists, primarily Olivier Coipel. Like, he copied this panel from House of M. He copied. Now, this is a copy of Stuart Immonen's X-Men, but these panels are copies of Olivier Coipel, and even more copies of his work. And these are from previews, so like people have been pretty on the ball as far as like recalling these panels and comparing them side by side, and it's pretty undoubtable. I did notice when I was reading, I was like, I wasn't sure if I liked the artists' faces. Some were very like under rendered, some looked better, and then I realized it's the better ones that are traced or copied because I am a big fan of Olivier Coipel, and yeah, I mean, on the one hand, you know, being a fan of Coipel's art, I would like to see more of it in Marvel comic books, and maybe to reference it is an homage. Like, is it stealing if it's part of the same company? I mean, that's debatable. Is it a reference? Is it an homage, or is it just laziness? I think the fans are going to debate that. He's not the first artist guilty of it, but it's very egregious though. And this is what separates a tracer from, an original artist. Like Coipel, his art is original. Miracolo, he's just tracing and changing the details. So, hey, this is nothing new. For a long time, Marvel has had different artists whose style becomes the house style, and they want other artists to try and imitate their work because it's popular. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about it. Is it acceptable, unacceptable? Do you want him to keep doing it, or do you want him to stop? I would say for my part, I would like to see what he's capable of on his own. I feel like, he doesn't have to rely so heavily on uh, copying other artists like this directly. Like it's like a collage almost. Like, I don't know. But it is kind of disappointing. Like this caused quite a bit of a scandal for the first issue of the Phoenix miniseries. All right. There's one more new book I want to discuss. But first, let's talk about this. So spoiler alert, but Marvel themselves spoiled this. This week we got the first look at Daphne Keene in Deadpool and Wolverine, returning her as Laura. So, a lot of us, myself included, were kind of disappointed that they spoiled it like a week before the movie comes out. Like they could have just kept it under wraps, but it seems like Marvel is doing this new thing where they just want to get ahead of spoilers and leaks. Like, what do you guys think? Is that a good strategy or a bad strategy? I don't know. I feel like the perspective is different these days. Like people are more interested in the speculation and the hype than they are in the actual finished product, it seems. So maybe they're just leaning into that, and by leaking all this stuff in advance, You know, they're generating discussion and keeping it at the top of the entertainment news. So there's different ways to look at it, but I think at the very least, this is a great week for Laura fans because not only do we get confirmation that she's going to be in Deadpool and Wolverine, because like she had the actress Daphne King, she had been denying this up till now, and she even cited Andrew Garfield as her inspiration for how to like deny the rumors, like he did for Spider-Man No Way Home, because yeah, Marvel does not like their actors to spoil things um on their own. Like apparently Marvel can spoil things at their own discretion, but their actors cannot. So yeah, so I'm still excited. I have plans to go see Wolverine in Deadpool or Deadpool Wolverine, whatever it's called, next week. So I'm definitely going to talk about that probably on next week's podcast. So she came out and she announced it, and she even shared some of this art. A lot of people who are fans of Laura might remember that she had a notable run by Tom Taylor. Daphne Keane and Tom Taylor both shared this artwork by David Lopez from Tom Taylor's run on Wolverine. It's Laura as Wolverine saying, I want them to see the Wolverine coming. And she's popping her claws. Everyone's got their cameras out. Yeah, like I think there's a lot of hype and excitement for it. And it just seems like Tom Taylor is all over the place today. So I just want to shout that out. But the other thing that made this a big week for Laura fans is that she had a Blood Hunt issue come out. It's a one shot called X-Men Laura Kinney, the Wolverine. All right. Who read this book? I did. It was pretty good. This was also written by Stephanie Phillips, and the artist was Robert Gill, colorist Nolan Woodard, letterer Travis Lanham, and yeah, this is just interesting one shot that tells us what Laura's up to during this Blood Hunt comic book like event. I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of this cover art. This cover is by Bjorn Behrens, and I can't tell if it's CG rendered or if it's actually hand drawn, or maybe a bit of both. But the style is just not really to my liking. But the artwork by Robert Gill, the interiors, is a bit better. So I'll show you my favorite page. Look at this page, guys. This is crazy. Trigger warning, because I'm just so like when I saw this page, I had to go back on the cover. I'm like, is this a red band issue? No. There isn't even a parental advisory on this one. It's just rated T for teen or T plus. But look at this. There's blood everywhere. Laura and Honey Badger are like just stabbing vampires in the head, in the face, in the neck, everywhere. Like it's I think this is pretty much what anyone could this is all anyone really wants from a Wolverine book. Stab, stab, stab. Slish, slunch, like slag, scrunch, squish. Like yeah. Very bloody, very violent. Um yeah, so if you read this book, you will get some good uh vampire violence. Now there were some other great pages in this book, but some of them kind of give away the plot, so I don't really want to spoil that for you guys here. But there is a interesting character that appears, and something interesting goes on with that character. All right, so that is all the new books that I've read this week. Now it's time to talk about old comic books, things that have come out previously. Um, there's a couple of things that I could talk about, but I'm just going to go ahead to our spotlight book, which is Nightwing, Leaping into the Light by Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo. So, where to begin? Well, let's start by putting this in context. So, some of you might remember that before this run came out, Nightwing was going through a lot. Like he had been shot in the head, then he lost his memories, and he was going by Rick Grayson instead of Dick Grayson. And this era was pretty much maligned by fans, except for the fact that I remember checking out a few issues because I liked the art at the time. It was Travis Moore doing some of those comics. But yeah, when this run came, it was definitely back to basics. The tagline is Can Nightwing, the heart of the DC universe, stop a new criminal who literally collects hearts from the city's citizens? So, I think one reason this run is so popular is that it takes a well beloved character and you can dive right in without a lot of not prior knowledge or even reading the previous books. So even though this run starts on issue 78 of this volume of Nightwing, you don't really have to go back and read, all 77 issues that came before unless you want to. Also, I think this was born out of the Infinite Frontier. I don't want to call it a reboot, but like event. So like this is one of DC's regular attempts to make things new reader friendly, and I think they did a good job with this book here. The Nightwing has been around for such a long time that people generally know who he is and who the other Bat characters he relates with are, but um, you know, this book starts out in a way that anyone can relate to. We get a flashback scene where Nightwing is a kid and he just likes to stand up to bullies. But that said, yeah, this book, you know, was collected in the volume Leaping into the Light. I'll share a few of my favorite pages from the first issue. So look at this page. All right, so this is a great 2-page spread. Like Bruno Redondo is coming out the gate, letting you know, like he is great at drawing cityscapes, and um, it's the sunset. The coloring is beautiful here by Adriano Lucas, and you can literally see Nightwing leaping into the light. It's a beautiful spread there. Another page I liked was this double page spread where Barbara Gordon visits Nightwing. She's the executor of Alfred Pennyworth's will. So Alfred
everyone's favorite butler has passed away, unfortunately, in a recent Batman arc that I didn't read, so I don't know too much about the details of that. But he has left a letter written for Dick Grayson, just letting him know that he decided to leave him a very large inheritance because he really loves him and trusts him to make good decisions with that money. So that's a very sweet moment. Um, it does make me wonder, if Alfred also left an inheritance for the other Bat kids, or if he just played favorites with Dick. But it is what it is. Um, like even Nightwing is shocked when he gets this news. He says he doesn't understand. He's like, Alfred was a billionaire. So he says, why would a billionaire make me sandwiches and do my washing? And Barbara says, for the same reason a billionaire would fight crime in Gotham. It's what he wanted to do. So this is kind of funny. Like, I don't know. I don't think we're meant to overthink it because, yeah, like, I can't imagine being someone's butler for my life and then giving all my money to who, the kid of the person who I butlered for. Like, I'm pretty sure Alfred has family. Didn't they invent like some kind of daughter of his? I don't know. We're not meant to overthink it, but clearly, Batman, Dick, and Alfred, they were quite a family, especially in the earlier days of Batman comics. So, it's an interesting premise, Um, what's Nightwing going to do with all this money? So, next issue, issue 79, we're introduced to the Heartless. Here's a pretty cool cover. We've got some it's kind of like a Times Square of Bloodhaven where you can kind of, get some plot tidbits. There was a variant cover that was pretty cool that homaged the 60s Batman series. You got a little bit of Alfred. His hands are lifting Robin's cape, and then you've got Dick Grayson's costumes throughout the years as he evolves from Robin into Nightwing and the various Nightwing costumes he's had. Then you've got Batgirl opening the window as he scales the building. Um, and this is like a famous uh, type of scene that the Batman show would do because at the time they literally filmed this and then just turn the camera sideways or turn the film footage sideways because it's much easier to pretend to scale a wall than it is to actually scale a wall. And they would used to have lots of famous guests pop out the window on the 60s show. But yeah, I love the cover. I love this panel. We one of the scenes that we find in the book, Dick and Barbara visit Marv and George's pizza shop, and you can even see George Perez as the um, as the guy selling the pizza. And not only do they visit the pizza shop, but Nightwing's first choice in spending his money is to feed the hungry, the homeless, people who need it. So It's a very kind act. This kind of gets to the heart of why people love Dick Grayson. Like he's just a really nice guy. Like he's raised by Batman, but he's a bit more optimistic than Batman. And he's younger and he just wants to like make the world a better place. In whatever way he can, whether that's through crime fighting or feeding people or whatever else he can figure out to do. And that's what this arc is about. I want to shout out this page. This is a really cool page because as you can see, it's a double page spread where Nightwing is moving across the page and he's taking down a bad guy or two bad guys. And this type of artwork, so we've got this effect that um, kind of shows after images of him moving. So it's like, even though there are no panels, you know, you can trace the action of him moving across the page because you have these ghost images or after images of him that are a little bit more transparent. And then you've got the full color image of him at the bottom right. And this is a, a technique that Bruno Redondo is going to use to great effect later on in the book. Sometimes it's called the De Luca effect, named after the Italian artist Gianni De Luca, but this is a more of a modified De Luca effect because when the after images are um, transparent uh, or faded, that's uh, more of a modification of that De Luca effect. So there are different terms for this. I don't know if there's an agreed upon term for it, but it's just a really cool way to represent motion in comic book art. And we see a lot more of it as this run continues. I also want to shout out this page. I really like the sound effect and the way that he drew the action inside of the sound effect. Plack, knock. Like he's using his what do you call those? His staffs to knock out a guy or two guys, and just it's just really cool. Like Bruno Redondo's art is amazing, and this is the first book I've really seen of his. Like apparently he did some Injustice work before this, but yeah, I think his Nightwing art is really like an amazing run, especially because he's still on the book. Um, and yeah, this is going to be a legendary run by the time it's done, if it isn't already. Um, so then in the next issue, issue 80, you know, we learn more about the Heartless. Uh, Look, here's some more interesting stuff Bruno Redondo is doing. It's very like architectural blueprints or like a floor plan. Like you get a map of Nightwing's apartment. You can see him and Barbara going in the building, up the elevator, into the apartment from a bird's eye view or from a ceiling view. And it's just kind of cool. Like, I always love this stuff in comic books. It makes it visually interesting. You got a silhouette in the bottom right corner as he dons his Nightwing mask. Here's another cool cover featuring the Heartless. Pretty cool character design, a new villain as far as I'm aware. I still don't know who the Heartless is because I haven't gotten that far in the storyline. If I had to guess, it'd probably be that bully from the flashback at the beginning, but maybe, maybe not. Another big part of this storyline is the mystery of Melinda Zuko. So we see that Nightwing is, investigating the murder of one of the homeless people he met recently, and um, he sees he learns about Melinda Zuko, who is the daughter of Tony Zuko, but then she reveals that she's actually the daughter of John Grayson, which makes him her half brother and her his half sister. And that's quite a big surprise. We even get to meet Dick even gets to meet her mother, who tells her the story of how this all happened, and that story is told with different artists. So that's a great use of if you have to have a fill-in artist, let them tell a flashback story because that way it makes the rest of this art feel more consistent. Um, all right, and then we have issue 83. Now, this is a more straightforward example of the DeLuca effect, where character moves across the page all in one panel or one giant spread, and there's no faded colors, no transparency, but you're able to trace the line of motion because it's the same character. And here we see Nightwing. Entering, he's the backstage of a, he's entering the rafters of a stage area. He's changing from his costume into his civilian clothes. And then he gets on stage and makes a big announcement. My name is Dick Grayson, and I have an idea. Also, it's a little bit of beefcake because, he's kind of shirtless in there. Um, Here's a cool page from that issue. Um, when Nightwing is held captive by Melinda Zuko, then she reveals that she's his half sister. Then he calls off all the support that was coming to save him. Like Nightwing has a lot of friends and allies. You had Donna Troy, you had the Titans come to save him. You had Batman even in the Bat plane. But then when Oracle calls them off, says thanks everyone, Dick's okay. Then they just kind of like turn around without even a word. It's kind of funny. Um, but yeah, this is the kind of hero Dick Grayson is. Like, you know, he's got a lot of friends. He's well liked and loved by the superhero community. Here's another cool panel. Something that comic books makes look easy. Like, I don't know how easy it would be for them to do something like this in a live action, but here, look, Nightwing shoots his grapple at a helicopter, and they attach to some soldiers who are in the helicopter, and then he swings underneath the helicopter all the way up into it, and then kicks those same guys out of the helicopter, and then he ties up the other two guys, and he kicks them out as well. And then the last guy flying the helicopter is like, just handcuff me and take the chopper, man. And then they're all just kind of like hanging out the helicopter while Nightwing makes his getaway. And plus, you get a nice little ass shot, which Nightwing is known for having a perky ass. It is what it is. Some people love it, some people hate it, but it's something that you know you're gonna get some of that from time to time. Um, and then I will say that I continued reading into the next arc, which is called Get Grayson, which covers issues 87 to 91, I believe. Let me double check that. Yeah, get Grayson. Yeah, to 91. And it also has a crossover with Tom Taylor's other DC book at the time, Superman, Son of Kal-El. So this cover has another DeLuca effect. Very cool because this whole issue is described as one continuous image. Like every page in it connects to the one before it, and it's all like from left to right. It's really cool. But I'll show you one example of my favorite page. Like, the whole book, every page is like a double page spread, and it uses this DeLuca effect. But this page is one of my favorites because, as you can see, right in the center at the bottom, it's the Mystery Machine. I love that little Scooby Doo, um, you know, cameo. Like right away, I noticed like the Mystery Machine is just so recognizable with its flower power design on the sides of the van. So I just love that. They're driving through Bloodhaven today. All right, so yeah, read this issue. Like this issue, you can almost read it as standalone if you haven't read any other Nightwing issues. It's just kind of cool. Like some people would say it's gimmicky, but I think that's what comics are about, to try different cool things and um and be visually interesting. So I love it. Issue 88. They made a big deal out of this because Nightwing got his blue stripes back on his fingertips. Like it's very small modification to the costume, but it is kind of unique to the character, and everybody was like very hyped. I remember online like, oh, he's getting the blue stripes back. And this issue, we do see him team up with the Teen Titans again. So here's one of my favorite pages from that issue. Titans together. The next issue, 89, is the crossover with Superman, Son of Kal-El, aka Jonathan Kent. Bruno Redondo is doing his thing. I want to shout out this panel. I really love this panel because look, Nightwing has his Batman pajama pants on, and Barbara has a Teen Titans Go shirt on, and Bruno Redondo even puts a Van Gogh painting in the background just because he can. Like I just the art is really good. I love it. Here is one of the variant covers for this issue. Jamal Campbell did a lot of variant covers, and they're all really cool. Um, so I love this one of him eating um, a slice of pizza on top of a construction site in a sunset. And then part two of the Superman crossover was in the Superman Son of Kal-El book. And here was a variant cover by Travis Moore. And that story was pretty good. Um, but that's kind of where I left off. And I need to read the rest of Nightwing to catch up with the rest of you guys who are up to date. So, um, yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, oh, I forgot to mention, there was a crossover with Fear State, and this was an interesting Batman storyline, where basically the Scarecrow was the main villain. In this issue, Nightwing and Barbara Gordon get even closer, and Barbara decides to get back to fighting more crime in costume. Um, So this is a bit of a controversial thing where Dick and Barbara are getting together again. It's not the first time they've been together. So, and it kind of makes a certain sense, but some people don't like this relationship. Some people prefer Dick and Starfire, or Dick and other characters, but I'm okay with it. Um, Especially in this arc, you can see them growing closer to each other once again. So, like in this whole run from the beginning. So, um, you might want to check that out if you haven't already. And I think that concludes my takes on the Nightwing run so far. I'll keep you guys updated as I read more of it. Um, yeah, and I want to hear what you guys are reading. Like, please, every Saturday, I'd like to have a book club where you can join in. You can text or video, and you can tell me what you're thinking. You can later on pop in the comments. And yeah, I want to hear from you. What books do you like? What books are you reading, old and new? What are you excited about, whether it's comic books or related media? Um, yeah. So, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button. Please subscribe and hope to see you guys again next week. All right. Thanks, everybody. Until next time, same bat time, same bat channel. Bye.